Hello again. What a joy, what a pleasure to be welcomed by you into your space where we can come together and share as we've always done and as we always do. I cannot thank you enough again for sharing in with us and allowing us to come into your space so we could share together. We're still talking about dealing with our subject, the power of you. The last week, the last time we did this, we engaged a number of thoughts and a number of ideas, one of which is to say that the power of you simply means that in your hands, in these hands, is your life. Your life is in your hands. Your life, its outcome, what it will be, what it should be, what it will become is all in your hands. The power to determine the outcome of it is in your hands. But in order to make that happen, in order for this thought to become a reality, you must be intentional, you must be deliberate about your actions. You and I must, as it were, picture in our minds very clearly what we want for our lives, the outcome we want for our lives, and how we indeed want our lives to turn out. We painted the picture of a leaf floating about in water, flowing water, strong currents, and the leaf, being driven away by the strong currents of the moving water. Your life, my life, our lives can be like that if we allow it to, where every current of toxicity and negativity literally blows our lives and flows it along wherever it wishes. And so our lives is simply at the mercy of the currents and the currencies of life, the negative currents and the negative currencies of life. But with the topic, the power of you, what we're saying is that in your hands is the power, the profound power endowed to you and given to you and blessed you with. You are blessed with this power to determine your life's outcome and all of that. Outside of external influences, whether it's systems, people, governments, what have you. So that our final point last week was you cannot therefore blame anybody, anything, any system for where your life is and the outcome of it. Yes, external situations, entities like governments that, as it were, make policies to run our lives and control the environment, the circumstance for us, must be held accountable. They must be held responsible for the outcome of the general state of things. However, our strong argument is based on the topic, the power of you as an individual, can muster a certain courage and muster a certain strength of resolve and effort within you to go in a certain direction that changes the outcome of your life, changes the outcome of our lives. Within this same context, we will get ideas, we'll find ideas. There will be innovative thinking, creative thinking that will show us opportunity. So therefore, the sum up of all of our conversations has been that in your hands is the power to determine outcomes, especially the outcome of your life. That comes first, and then you can look at external entities, situations, people, and so on, and attempt to lay the blame on their doorstep. You and I, we possess the power, the unusual power, the unusual strength, the capabilities to write our own stories and to determine the sketch of life and how we want it to be. The Creator, our Creator, endowed us with these factual truths and with these capabilities, this grace and this blessing. We're continuing the Power of You 4. That is the session 4, number 4, or the part 4. And I read the quote: if you cannot learn to fight like a lion, then you will never be king. If you cannot learn to fight like a lion, then you'll never be king. Why do we use the lion as an analogy here? We use the lion because the lion, as you know, both historically and in terms of its anatomy, the anatomy of the lion and all that the lion represents courage and boldness, just fierce boldness. It's not for nothing that we call the lion the king of the beasts. I'm sorry, the king of the forests, not the king of the beasts, but the king of the forest. It's not for nothing that the lion has earned this name. Of course, the lion doesn't really conquer everything. See, the elephant, the baby elephant could be game for an alpha male lion, particularly if it's more than one lion, if it's a pride. They can engage, sizable, elephant. But there are only a few things that the lion cannot deal with and handle. The lion is able to deal with almost everything in the forest, almost every animal in the forest. Why? Because of its sheer courage and its sheer boldness. These capabilities, these virtues, is within us, is within you, is within me. Do not say you are young, even though our target group in these conversations are between 15 to 45, what we call the millennials, older millennials, younger millennials, and the Gen Zs. Even though our focus is young people, that's exactly the point we want to make, that even though young, you possess within you the capabilities of this king lion. And as you can see from the picture, the little kid trying to roar, you can tell he's a kid, trying to roar as a lion, as this big king lion. But then the picture is saying, even though he might not sound like that big king lion in the roar, the potential of the big king lion's roar is still within him as a young kid. And so within us lies abilities to blow the mind of the world. Within us, no matter, in spite of where we live, in spite of our geography, our location, where we are, what we do, the color of our skin, our gender, success and achieving and becoming what you and I were born to be is not, if you like, gender-centered. Neither is it geography-centered. Geography is important, where you live is important, where you are is important. But there are too many stories, several stories of great and mighty conquests that has been possible within the most unlikely situations and circumstances. The environment was so bad. I mean, when I say bad, there was nothing enabling about the environments, the circumstances, the situations, which form the context, the backdrop within which these conquests happened. Nothing. Everything, in fact, in the environment, in the background, in the backdrop, would fight any effort to achieve. And yet, great achievements have been recorded in the most obscure, in the most unlikely, in the most unusual of circumstances. Why? Because the power to make that happen really is not in the circumstances. It is in you. It is in me. And that's our conversation, and that's been our conversation. So, as we continue, the point is, what does it mean to take responsibility of your life? Because the point we made is the power of you at the heart and at the core
of this subject, the power of you, is your realization, your consciousness, your imbibing. You and I should imbibe into our belief system that we hold in our very hands, our very lives, and not only that, but the profound power to turn it around and to make it what we definitely intend and desire it to be. But then how do we do this? It begins with being conscious, being conscious of the fact that you and I must take the challenge. We must assume the challenge. We must tell ourselves that we and only we, you and only you, me and only me, are the ones who can assume this challenge, assume this responsibility, assume this task, assume ownership. In other words, we must take ownership of our lives. We must take ownership of the whole goal to change this life. We must take ownership. So young people, Africa will be a different place if we stop complaining, if we stop looking out for some of the generations of our parents and fathers who lived in the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, and so on. And for those who are fortunate to be alive, for some of them, when you listen to them, they still blame the former colonial master. They've never stopped blaming the white man, never stopped blaming. And so blame seems to have become second nature. Now, nobody with this kind of thinking, nobody with this kind of, if you like, posture in life, nobody like this will amount to anything and will achieve anything, will even appreciate the blessing and the power of this topic, the power of you. Nobody who likes to find the fault, place the blame somewhere else other than themselves will move 1 inch in understanding and appreciating this topic. Why? Because living with this mindset where you're always looking for somebody to blame or something to blame puts you on the far opposite end of this important subject matter, the power of you, and the fact that in your hands, in my hands, is the profound opportunity. Because power is also opportunity. Power is not just having it and getting excited for just the sake of having it. It is the opportunity to do something. It's the opportunity to change something. It's the opportunity to make something better. So, what does it mean to take responsibility for your life? It is easy to fall into the trap of blaming. That's what we're talking about. Blaming the current government for the lack of money in your pocket, blaming cold tennis balls for a poorly played tennis match, blaming red lights for your late arrival at work. The time has come to accept responsibility for your actions. In other words, again, to the story of this lady who works with one of the telcos here in Ghana, major telcos, it's quite up the ladder. So the paycheck, monthly paycheck is quite handsome. You know, it's quite great. And yet, because of the challenges, the difficulties, she could still not really make ends meet. Now, what she did, saw an opportunity that's been there all the time, because the backyard of the house, as I give the story, has been there because she's been living in the house for the longest. Because it's a house she bought herself, actually with her husband. Now, all of that space had been there till one day, as she walked to the back, I'm sure still grappling with how to make ends meet. Then, boom, the light bulb turns on. The thought comes to her. What is this whole space lying here for? I could turn it into a garden of vegetables and peppers and onions and so on. She did that, put in the work. And that's the other thing that we'll be talking about down the line. Put in the work. She put in the work. And today, from selling the produce in her backyard, she earns more and has more money in her hands than her monthly paycheck. So you could say she takes home about twice that amount of money, twice the amount she takes home for paycheck. What does that mean? What changed? What was different? The government hasn't changed. The situation hasn't changed. Nothing has changed. But something changed. She changed. She changed. She is the one who changed. You, when you change, that's power released. When you change, that's power unleashed. When you change, that's doors of opportunity to turn your personal circumstance around, flung open. You can hit the streets and demonstrate all you want. But like this lady, there's so much with you, around you, and within your space. If we just took time to look, and I mean look, really look, you will be amazed at how some of our actions, if not all of our actions, to blame was just inexcusable. So, rescue yourself from the trap of the victim mentality. Victim mentality. It will never serve you well in the long run, where you feel cheated. Well, everybody feels cheated. You feel you've lost. Everybody feels they've lost. You feel, you've been dealt the short end of the stick. Everybody feels they've been dealt with the short end of the stick in one situation or the other. But the thing is, the transformation that comes does not come to us because the outside changes. They help when the outside change. They help when governments change. They help when situations change. But guess what? Sometimes it takes forever for things to change, particularly in Africa. The politics of Africa, the governments of Africa, and so on and so forth, almost provide very little hope. Provide very, very little hope. But guess what? It is because we have not grasped this truth about how blessed we are, blessed by the Creator, endowed by the Creator, with this system, with this machinery, with this capability inside of us to start and to blaze the trail of change and transformation from us. This lady, I'm sure, could have joined the demonstration, one of the demonstrations against this government. But guess what? She cares about her nation, cares about other people, colleagues and so on, and friends and family. But she took the step to do some things that activated change. So there's a whole lot right there within our reach, within our grasp, if we decide to put away the victim mentality and rather take on the victor mentality. To paraphrase the words of Charles Swindoll, really great writer, he said, life is 10% what happens and 90% how you react to it. Charles Swindoll's statement is a very powerful one. Life is 10%, only 10% of what happens, but 90% of how you react to it. 90% of how you react to it. That's so profound. Young people, between the ages of 15 to 45, 12, 9, if you can learn this now and get it. If we, all of us as millennials and older millennials, younger millennials, Gen Zs, if we can get it, that life is only 10% of what happens, but 90% of how you react, it would put us way ahead of the game. The next time you begin to place the blame elsewhere, stop and think that 10%, no matter how much things happen around you, the rubble and all the, if you like, all the excitement, it is 10%. It is 10%. 90% of the solution is us, is how we're going to write, is how we're going to react. Shoulder your responsibility like lifting weights, Shoulder your responsibility like lifting weights. Doing this will make you stronger. Now, how do you do it? How do you do it? How do you take responsibility? How do we activate the power of you so that all of these discussions, all of these principles, all of these values, they yield and deliver for us the transformation we're looking for? We're looking for, or we're looking to experience and to enjoy. It is simple. Do away with the excuses. Do away with the excuses. Do away with the excuses. The problem with excuses is that they keep you from taking action. There's a popular saying that if you really want something, you will find a way. And if you don't, you will find an excuse. So it's always two things. You'll either find a way to do it or you find an excuse not to do it. You find a way or you find an excuse. Always these two things. Listen to all of the conversations. It's always either I found a way or I have an excuse why I couldn't do it. In other words, having an excuse, excuse me, is like an admission to yourself that you are not willing to do what it takes to achieve something, or you don't want it bad enough, like they say. The expression, which I'm sure you've heard over and over, how bad do you want it? How bad do you want it? Or how much do you want it? How bad do you want it? If we want it that bad, then it will translate into action. It will translate into the fight, like the picture which starts our slide presentation, the picture which I took time to explain. You fight like a lion, you will get it, because the lion doesn't give up. The lion doesn't throw in the towel. The lion fights and fights with what you call staying power until it gets its prey. You and I have been blessed by our Creator. We are already endowed with the power and the potential to fight like the lion. It is inside us. It is inside us. That doesn't mean you go around eating people, disrespecting people. I mean, eating people, not literally, you know what I mean. But it doesn't mean you go around just disrespecting people, treating people like trash, and treating people with no respect. No, it doesn't mean that. What it means is that you have within you the power, the tenacity, the staying power, the stubborn grit that says, I will not back down, I will not move an inch until this thing is done. Until this thing is done. Do you know how to do something? Then learn how to do it. Don't have the time to work on your dreams. Well, free up some time by getting unnecessary activities away from your calendar. You will be amazed. You will be amazed at the many things that eventually are not really important and can be done away with. Time after time, I look at myself, I look at my life, and I wonder, okay, maybe if I put this thing away or delegate this and delegate that and don't do this, I would be okay. And I have done it. And I was surprised that I didn't die, I didn't diminish, I didn't disappear. Things still got done. You'd be amazed at the things in your space, in your life, the activities on your calendar, which can all wait or be put away or be put in the next line of importance compared to the things that must come first. So, excuses, that's number one. That's how to take responsibility. Move excuses, take charge, and take a hold. The second is stop blaming. The problem with always trying to find someone or something to blame is that it robs you of the power to take action. If you believe that you are poor because of how the economy is set up, then there's no motivation to work harder. Because whatever you do, you cannot change the economy and cannot therefore change your situation. If you believe that your current situation is a result of your decisions and actions, then this means that it is also possible to change your situation by changing your decisions and actions. So everything is really situated on actions. Therefore, the first step to taking control of your life is to quit the blame game. Millennials, younger, older millennials, Gen Zs, young people all over the world who hear us and who join in these conversations. It may appear simple, it may appear not very important, but I tell you they are crucial, they are critical. Excuses and blaming, excuses and blaming. If you are a master of these two things, then your only place to channel your energy is to look for the next demonstration against the government or the next place where people sit and complain. And that's what you'll be doing. You'll be joining groups, the self-pity party groups, and the groups and the people whose whole mindset and the thinking and the culture is somebody else is responsible for my present situation other than me. And so this power, this profound power of looking at yourself in the mirror first is a profound gift endowed on each one of us by our Creator to look at our lives, look at ourselves, and say to ourselves, nobody can do this thing for me. Even if somebody could do it for you, you tell yourself, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. So, I'll say it again. If you believe that you are poor because of how the economy is set up, then there's no motivation to work harder, because whatever you do, you cannot change the economy and therefore cannot change your situation. So, just remember this lady I have been talking about and repeating. Use the backyard for gardening, vegetables and so on, peppers, onions, and look at the result. She has enough, far more than enough to use for her daily needs, for her entire family. And not only that, but she has far, far, far more than enough to sell. And it came as a result of she taking hold and taking charge and saying, I'm going to do this. So you stop the excuses, you stop blaming, then you stop complaining. Just finding someone to blame, complaining about your situation or circumstances, puts you in the position of victim who has no control over their lives. But remember, we're saying at the heart of the power of you is capability and power within you to take the steps and to take the actions to reverse and to change. The reality is that the world is not an ideal place, and therefore things will never always go your way. If things don't go as expected, or if something happens to put you in a position of disadvantage, instead of complaining about the situation, focus on what you can learn from the situation and think of what you can do to get yourself out. So, what it means is every bad situation for you is a classroom of learning. Every situation that's negative should be a classroom of learning. It should be a classroom of learning. It should be a classroom of learning. If we look at life this way and engage life from this perspective, then we will do away with excuses, we'll do away with blaming, we'll do away with complaining, and guess what? You would realize that you have the power within yourself to make anything possible. You must diminish the doubt and ignite the self-belief. Now, this is simple, really simple. And just before I bring it to a close, I like to just go back to the blaming bit, the complaining bit, and just to say, particularly with the second bullet point, okay? The reality is that the world is not an ideal place. Therefore, things will not always go your way. Now, that's the larger reality we all live in. That's the larger reality we all live in. What does that mean? What it means is we must be smart enough to know that if that is the larger reality we all live in, then your story is no different from the other guy living or the other person living elsewhere, enduring and engaging most of the things you are engaging. I want to thank you very much again for joining in and for making time to come, give us space, give us time to connect with us, and I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope that these sessions really mean something to us. Listen, we can make Africa a great place. So please learn to share, subscribe, like, share, subscribe, like. Thank you very much for joining.